So you can also build images from Git repositories. The meaning is if you already have a Git repository that has a Docker file, so no need to clone it locally and then invoke Docker build command. Okay. So what you can do is you can use Docker build and whatever -t that you give. Okay. But instead of using dot as the context, you just have to give the Git URL that has your, a Docker file. Okay. And also you have an option to mention the name of the branch that you wanted to build and also the location of your Docker file. Let's say, so let me go to this repository. So I'll again talk about this particular repository. So when we talk about multi-stage builds for Node.js, okay. So this is cloned from this link from this repository. If you see this repository already has a Docker file, okay. And it is, I think it will run on 80 port only because if you see the Docker file, okay, so it is a multi-stage build, but you don't have to worry about this for now. Okay, so it is using Nginx, so which means it will run on 80 port. Okay, so this is the URL. Okay, so if you have multiple branches, then I can select a branch. Okay, so after the git URL, you just have to mention hash, the name of the branch colon. So here your Docker file is in the root. So what if you have a Docker file in another folder? Then that folder should be considered, right, as a context. So in that case, you can give the subdirectory. Okay. So how do I build this is, simply I just use the URL. Okay. And then use Docker build -t. So it is a Villa app. Basically, I'm just calling it as Villa app 1.0 and just give the URL. So basically what will happen is, so your Docker will clone that repository into a temporary directory, and then it will automatically start to build it. So you don't have to clone it and then uh, run that Docker file. Simply invoke the Docker file by taking the URL as an input. Okay. So it will clone it. It will just read the Docker file. If you see, I did not use any this hash branch name and directory because branch, it will take the default branch. Subdirectory, if I don't give, it will assume that the Docker file is at the root of the repository. Okay, so it is fine if you just give the URL. So without the branch and the directory information, it will directly take the defaults. Okay, if you see, it is multi-stage build basically. I'll explain it in the next session. Okay, so you have a couple of stages. So it is saying in the first stage, it is trying to build the second instruction out of 3. Okay, similarly, it will, once it is done with the first stage, it will go to the second stage.
Vikram, what if the GitHub is a private repo?
GitHub is the private.
Private repo, like this is it pulls
Then you say, like, how do you actually give the credentials to your
hyphen
local machine if it is private?
hyphen username hyphen password.
So that is for the curl command. So in Git, how do you do? So you can embed your username and personal access token, right? So it is https:// your username
Oh,
personal access token @github.com and the rest of the URL.
okay.
That is one way. And the other way is if you already did if your system already has GitHub credentials.
Okay.
Okay. And if you're already logged in before, those credentials would be stored in the your system's credential manager, right?
Right.
Credential store. In that case, it won't ask for the credentials, even if it is private.
Okay.
Okay. So now if you see our image is built and what is the name of the tag that we have used? So it is Villa app. I can just do Docker images. You can see here it is just 32 MB because of multi-stage builds. So let me run it. So Docker run -t. So on local, I use 80. Internally, it is using 80 port. So let me name this container as villa, something like that. Okay. Docker PS, your app is running, and then just use localhost. Okay. Just a second. Clear, guys?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So even in your CI pipelines, right? So if you want to build it, you can just point your Docker build to read the repository and build it. No need to clone it and then use Docker build to build it again.